Welcome to Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into something, well, pretty fundamental, becoming a more effective, more confident communicator.
Yeah, it touches almost everything we do.
Absolutely. And you've gathered some fascinating takes on this. So our mission here is to sort of pull out the key strategies, the things that can help anyone, really,
Whether you're gearing up for a big talk or maybe leading a team meeting.
or even just wanting to connect better in everyday chats. We'll get into the practical stuff, dealing with nerves, making sure your message actually lands.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first things first. Where do you even start? What are you going to talk about?
Well, a really strong thread running through this is the power of genuinely connecting with your topic. If you actually care about what you're saying, if you're enthusiastic, that really comes across.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can feel it, can't you? It changes how the audience listens.
It totally does. It's
Like,
like
cool.
this energy, it becomes kind of infectious.
Right, but okay, what about when the topic feels, well, boring? Like you're assigned something dry, I don't know, tax codes for teenagers.
Huh. Yeah, good example. That's where finding the right angle comes in. Maybe you frame it around something they do find interesting. Like, why do so many YouTubers suddenly move to Andorra?
Ah, okay. The tax angle, but made relevant. You find that hook.
Exactly. You find a way in. Even the driest subjects usually have some kind of real-world connection waiting to be found.
So it's about finding that spark, even if it's not immediately obvious. It makes it better for you and them.
Precisely. That effort pays off. Your genuine interest kind of pulls the audience in with you.
Okay, so you've got your topic, you've found that connection. What's next? What's the engine behind making it actually work?
Practice. Simple as that, really. It comes up again and again. Public speaking, communication. It's a skill. And like any skill, you need repetition.
Like learning guitar, right? You can read all the theory, but you got to put your fingers on the strings.
Exactly that. It builds muscle memory for your delivery.
And it's not just about not messing up the words, is it?
Not at all. Practice helps you improvise better when something unexpected happens. A question from the audience, maybe? Plus, it just builds confidence. The more you rehearse, the more comfortable you feel, the calmer you are when it's showtime.
Right, less panic. Okay, so practice is key. Now, how about the words themselves? There are temptations sometimes to sound smart, I guess.
Yeah, using big words, complex sentences, but the advice generally points away from that. It's about simplifying your language. You want the audience focused on your message, not trying to decode your vocabulary.
Clarity over trying to sound overly eloquent.
Mm-hmm. Make it accessible.
I saw a great example comparing just stating a carbon emission number versus like translating it into how many cars driving between two cities it equals.
Oh, yeah, that kind of analogy is powerful. It makes something abstract feel real, tangible.
It shows how you can take complex stuff and, make it land for people without dumbing it down.
Exactly. Using relatable examples, comparisons. That's the craft.
Okay, engaging topic, practice delivery, clear language. What about how you actually deliver it? There was a strong don't in there.
Yes. Avoid reading your speech word for word. Big one.
Seems obvious, but tempting, right? Feels safe.
It feels safe, but it builds a wall. If your eyes are glued to the page.
No eye contact, no connection.
Precisely. Eye contact is crucial for that trust, that empathy. And if you're not reading, you're freer.
Freer to what? Improvise a bit.
Yeah. React to the audience. Be more natural, more spontaneous within your structure.
And it seems like that's what people want more now. Less of the perfect, untouchable orator.
I think so. There's a real shift towards valuing speakers who feel authentic, relatable, maybe even a little vulnerable. That connects.
Okay, authenticity.
Yeah.
That ties into the next point, doesn't it? Being concise.
Definitely. Good communication isn't just about talking a lot. It's about achieving something.
Getting your point across, persuading, teaching,
Yeah.
whatever the goal is.
Right. And drowning people in words, just rambling on. It doesn't help. It can actually hurt your message. Overwhelms people.
So less is often more. Be brief. Be direct. Get to the point.
Shows respect for their time, too. Keeps them focused.
Makes sense. Now, related to delivery, your voice, the actual sound,
Your tone, yeah. Hugely important. You want it to sound natural, like you.
but not monotone, obviously.
Right. Not monotone, but also not artificial. Some people try on these like overly dramatic or forced voices.
Yeah, I've heard that. Trying too hard.
It usually backfires. Find your own voice, your authentic sound, then use natural variation, pitch, speed, pauses to add emphasis.
So it sounds like a real conversation, even if you're presenting.
That's the goal. Engaging, but real, not a performance.
Okay, beyond the voice. What about the physical side? Gestures.
Oh, massively important. Nonverbal stuff, what you do with your hands, your body.
Rule number 1 seems to be avoid the negative stuff. Crossed arms, hands jammed in pockets.
Generally, yeah. They can signal defensiveness or disinterest. Openness is key.
There was that tip about keeping hand gestures mostly between, your chest and waist?
Yeah, roughly in that zone. Keeps them supportive, not distracting.
Right.
Though, video calls might change that frame slightly.
Right. Got to be aware of the camera. And open palms. They came up too.
Mm-hmm. There's a kind of psychological thing there, maybe subconscious. Open hands tend to signal honesty, welcome, openness.
Interesting. And it's not just hands, it's movement too, right? If you have the space.
Definitely. Moving strategically on a stage or even just in a meeting room can really help. Keeps the audience engaged, draws their eye, connects with different parts of the room. You don't want to be rooted to one spot necessarily.
Using the space. Okay. Now, this next one feels a bit like a contradiction after talking about practice and structure. Spontaneity.
Yeah, but it's spontaneity within limits. It's not about winging the whole thing. It's about being able to deviate slightly from the script, to react naturally. Audiences love that.
Makes it feel less canned, more alive.
Exactly. Maybe you respond to a question or riff on something that just happened. Makes it more of a two-way street.
But important distinction here. This isn't just making stuff up, right?
No, absolutely not. That's crucial. It's improvisation, adapting your prepared material. It's not invention or fabricating facts. Big difference.
Okay, flexibility, not fiction. Got it. So you've done all this, kept them engaged. How do you wrap it up effectively?
The conclusion is critical. Right. It's your last chance to make an impact, the thing they'll remember most. It needs to be strong, clear, maybe summarize the key takeaway. Don't just trail off. Nail the ending.
Right. Leave them with something solid. Now, we've talked a lot about presenting, but these ideas apply elsewhere too, yeah? Like one-on-one, especially tricky conversations.
Absolutely. Conflict management is a huge area where communication skills are vital. And often, the best approach isn't avoiding conflict, but learning how to navigate it constructively.
One big tip was about language avoiding you statements. Like, you always do this.
Yes. That immediately puts people on the defensive. Using I statements is much better. I feel frustrated when. Focus on your own experience.
Makes sense. Takes the accusation out of it.
And then try ending with open-ended questions, like how can we work this out? It invites collaboration, not confrontation.
Turning it into a shared problem to solve.
Right.
Okay. And beyond the tactics, understanding people. That helps too.
Hugely. Having some grasp of, basic human psychology, what motivates people, it helps you tailor your message. One idea was even looking at things like those classic lists of human drives or sins, not literally, but as a way to understand underlying motivations, what people fundamentally desire or react to.
Interesting lens to see what might be driving someone's reaction or what might resonate with them.
Exactly. And it's not just about sending messages, it's receiving them, listening.
Ah, yes, making people feel heard.
It's foundational for building trust. There's that simple technique, paraphrasing,
where you repeat back the last few words they said.
Yeah, either as a statement or a question. Like the deadline is tight, it shows you're listening and prompts them to say more.
Yeah.
Surprisingly effective.
Giving them a little nudge to continue. And related to listening, asking good questions.
Key skill. Avoid those closed questions, the yes-no ones. They shut down conversation.
Go for the open-ended ones. Starting with what or how.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on this? How did you approach that? They invite detail, keep things flowing, without, making it feel like an interrogation.
Right, finding that balance. Okay, so we're collecting all these tools. How do we package them up for overall better communication?
Well, 3 big pillars seem to be clarity, structure, and vocabulary.
Okay, break those down. Clarity.
That's about cutting out the fluff. Those filler words, becoming aware of them. And also embracing the pause. Don't be afraid of silence. It gives people time to process, adds emphasis.
Okay, less filler, more pauses. Structure.
Organizing your thoughts logically. Maybe using lists first, second, third. Using transition words, however. Furthermore, on the other hand, to link ideas smoothly, making it easy to follow.
Like signposts for the listener. And vocabulary?
Just consciously trying to use richer, more varied language. Not necessarily bigger words, but more precise ones. Different adjectives, adverbs, synonyms.
That idea of recording yourself and noting words you overuse, that sounds useful.
It really is. Okay, I say good all the time. What are some alternatives? It actively expands your toolkit.
Makes sense. Now, something else that came up was congruence.
Ah, yes. Super important. Congruence is basically walking the talk. Your words and actions need to line up.
Why is that so critical for communication?
Builds trust. Massively. People have a pretty good radar for when someone's saying one thing but doing another, or their body language doesn't match their words, it feels off.
Creates inconsistency, undermines confidence, both in you and from others.
Exactly. Setting and keeping boundaries is a good example of congruence in action. Shows follow-through.
Like that example of the partner who was always late communicating the boundary, then sticking to it. Builds respect.
Actions really do speak volumes. And, on a related note, a subtle language shift.
The apology thing.
Yeah.
Shifting from sorry to thank you.
Yeah. Instead of, sorry I'm late, try, thank you for waiting. Or, thank you for your patience.
How does that change things?
It just shifts the focus.
Yeah?
It's more positive, less about dwelling on the mistake, more about acknowledging the other person. Softens the interaction.
Huh. Small change. Potentially big difference in tone. Like that. And of course, body language again. It's always there.
Always. Often saying more than the words. Showing vulnerable parts, hands visible, maybe neck, chest area, can paradoxically signal confidence. You're not guarded.
Interesting. And specific gestures, like using hands to show time passing or those open palms again.
Yeah, they add another layer to your message, reinforce what you're saying non-verbally.
Okay. And it's not just about how we present, but understanding the audience's state, too. Empathy.
Crucial. Tactical empathy, sometimes it's called. Really trying to understand, acknowledge the other person's feelings and perspective. It might mean saying something like, it seems like you might be feeling a bit hesitant about this, and then asking an open question, what are your concerns?
So you're naming the potential emotion, making it okay to discuss, addressing the elephant in the room, maybe?
Exactly. It builds connection.
Yeah.
Shows you're paying attention to more than just the words. It helps you solve problems together.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, silence. We mentioned pauses for clarity, but silence itself as a tool.
Oh, yeah. It can be really powerful. In a speech, a well-placed pause creates suspense, emphasizes a point, makes people lean in.
And in conversation?
It can encourage the other person to talk more. People often rush to fill silence. If you wait, they might reveal more. Plus, being comfortable with silence projects confidence. You're not desperate to fill every second.
Right, it shows you're composed. Okay, almost there. Physical presence again. Posture.
Simple but effective. Stand or sit tall, shoulders back, head level, weight balanced. It changes how you feel and how you're perceived. Instant confidence booster.
And linked to that, power poses. Taking up space.
Yeah, the idea comes partly from observing animals, expanding your physical presence, even subtly stepping forward. Keeping hands out from your body can project more confidence.
Interesting. Okay, so bringing it all together, the core message needs to be
clear, concise, direct. Get to the point effectively. Avoid rambling. Respect the audience's attention.
And your voice should convey security.
Yeah, speak clearly, audibly. Use those pauses effectively. Modulate your tone. Aim for calm and assured, not constantly anxious or over-the-top excited.
And finally, the eyes have it. Eye contact.
Absolutely fundamental. Look at people. Connect with individuals in the audience. It shows confidence, builds rapport.
What if looking at people makes you more nervous?
Find friendly faces. Focus on the people who are nodding, smiling, seem engaged. It can actually calm you down. Avoid looking down or away or at distractions that signals insecurity.
Okay. So many great techniques. But ultimately, it has to be real, doesn't it?
That's the foundation.
Yeah.
All these tips are tools. But true communication, the really impactful kind, comes from genuine feeling, sincerity. Your whole being has to align with your message. Words aren't enough on their own.
So knowing this stuff is great, but
you got to do it. Practice. Put these ideas into action. Maybe record yourself, watch it back, see what works, what needs tweaking. It's a continuous process of improvement.
Absolutely. So, as you can probably tell, becoming a more effective and confident communicator isn't just one thing. It's a whole package.
Yeah. Understanding your topic, honing your delivery, connecting with people, and just practicing.
We really hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights, maybe some practical steps you can try out right away.
Yeah, hopefully some useful takeaways there.
Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to our next episode.